Have you ever been in a round where there's 3 alive on your team and just 1 left on the other? Your team rushes in to get the final enemy, but each one gets picked off. Now it's a 1v1, and with the pressure on, you can't finish the job. At first it seemed like an easy round, so where did it all go wrong? A lot of the factors that end up losing you rounds are within your control, at least to some degree. Today we'll learn how to stop throwing your games by focusing on 3 topics: respecting your opponent, the solo mindset, and man advantage. I'll go over several mistakes in each category and how to fix them. Stick around for the last one, because I know you've done it. Also, real quick, if you learned something from this video, please like and subscribe so I can make more of these. Alright, let's get into it. When you start a game, you have to respect your opponent. We've all been in games where we crush the enemy for 2 rounds, and then out of nowhere, they start playing better. No matter how the enemy looks on our 6 tracker, you have to remember you're playing against 5 people who want to win. If you underestimate your opponent, you'll forget the simple things that are sometimes the line between wins and losses. Things like checking corners, droning, or setting up sight properly. These can seriously impact you if you don't do them properly every round. You end up playing down to your enemy's level, and you'll see this a lot in any competitive setting, whether it's a real-life sport or another game. If we want to improve, we should play every game like the other team is just as good or better than us, so that we keep our edge. After all, if we got matched against them, we're in their skill bracket. So, stay locked in and keep doing the little things that give you a better chance to win. Respecting the other team leads into a classic example of throwing: ego peeking. This is where you're just swinging to swing, no purpose at all. This comes down to us getting impatient and not respecting the enemy's gun skill or positioning. You're hungry for a kill, and just swing no matter the consequence. If you get a lucky kill from ego peeking, that's fine, but relying on it reinforces the bad habit. It makes you more likely to take disadvantaged gunfights in the future, and the second the enemy is slightly competent, you're done for. If you're consistently winning gunfights through aiming your way out of bad situations, you're playing in a rank you don't belong. And maybe you're in that rank because you don't use any of the other tactics to win games. To fix this habit, we can do a few things. First off, we use info to our advantage. If we know exactly where the enemy is before we peek, we can ask ourselves a few questions. Is he in cover? Does he know where I am? Is he looking at my spot? Based on these answers our info provides us, we can appropriately address the area ahead. If you're attacking, use your drone, and just check the corner before you move in. It's a little different on defense, but essentially the same principle. Check your default cams, or bring operators that have camera gadgets, and put them in places you'd expect to have a gunfight. Next, we should be considering our own position. Are you exposed if you peek? Can you use cover around you to hold a better angle? The enemy will do their best to shoot back, so we should be wary of exposing ourselves to bad angles and limit them. Lastly, you need to think about if you really need this kill right now. If the round has a lot of time left, maybe wait, because you might have gadgets that you need to place, or your team may need support later on. Obviously, kills are important, but some are worth way more than others, and taking risks early in the round could put your team at a deficit for the rest of the clock. So after we've been thinking about our opponent, we can start to look inward. A lot of our 6 players embody a solo mindset, where all they care about is their KD and being the best player in the lobby. I'll be completely transparent here, I've had this mindset before. A lot of the following tips are coming directly from my own experience and feedback from teammates and coaches during competitive play. So if you find yourself recognizing these actions, don't take it too hard. It's something that I've struggled with and I still work on today. So this solo mindset encompasses several areas, but they all revolve around the player only thinking about themselves and ignoring the other 4 people on their team. The most immediate consequence of this mindset is operator selection. A lot of people have a main operator. They pick it every round, and when someone takes it first, they whine and voice chat and get toxic. It doesn't matter if the team needs a Thatcher or something else, they're always going to pick their favorite. This makes it so that half of ranked rounds have team compositions that ignore some of the most basic strats in the game. Your favorite op becomes useless if you can't open main wall or take important map control. Maining one operator nerfs us individually and by extension our team. It's a little harsh, but you're not really good at that operator. You're just kind of bad at all the other ones. This is completely normal, and a lot of people fall into this, so don't take it personally. You might really like a certain gun, but operators are more than just their weapons. You should be picking ops based on team composition. Ask your team what they need for the push. If they're bringing Sledge to open vert holes, bring a Nomad for the stair flanks. If there's a Thermite, be his Thatcher or at least bring EMPs. If you support your team and bring operators that enhance or complement their pick, you will increase your chances of winning. This works both ways. Ask your team to pick certain ops to help you out. Obviously, you can't force them to do anything, but if you're nice and give them a good reason, more often than not, they will help you out. So to make this work, we need to be able to play a multitude of operators. We can get over this uncomfortable stage by playing an unranked or casual game with them. You can take time to mess around with the gadgets and just see what they do. The more operators we know how to play, the more options we have for supporting our team and properly addressing the other team's setup. I've mentioned recently that I'm going to make an operator roles video to show you each operator and what they can do and how to use them. I am working on that video, the script is done, and it will be the next one I upload. So if you aren't sure how to play any other operators, I'll be breaking it down in the next video. So, just like picking our operator for selfish reasons, some players play the round selfishly too. You might see people who play by themselves every round. Literally, they are playing the game as if they're the only one on their team. This is stuff like always deep roaming, always attacking solo, and dying early every round. Playing solo like this is dangerous because you have no support. The second the enemy team brings more than one person on a push, you're at a disadvantage. It doesn't matter if you have good gun skill, you can't shoot at more than one place at a time, and you will get overwhelmed while facing multiple targets alone almost every time. On attack, you should very rarely be pushing solo. If you're alone, it's more than likely you'll walk into more than one person, and then you're in a 1vx situation. It's similar on defense. Attackers like to push together, so if you're trying to take gunfights as a solo player, you will again be at a disadvantage. To fix this, we can either ask people to come with us or follow the plan our team is doing already. We need to use the support that the other people can provide. Ask them to watch your cams, or tell them to hold a certain area while you're lurking nearby. Figure out what would make your play more secure, and ask your team to provide it. You can also use what we learned about operator selection to pick your position. If you're Thatcher, don't do a solo roam clear. Work with Thermite and open the wall. If you give yourself a role or a plan within the team's makeup, you're more likely to make a meaningful impact to the round and less likely to just walk around aimlessly until you die. You should also focus on your callouts. When you see something important about the enemy's position or their setup, let everyone know about it.
Last in cash, coming construction behind you, Ash.
Good call! Proper callouts and info are often the most influential part of a team's success. If you see a roamer, communicate where they are properly. Don't just say, he's on my ping. He's actually in CCTV, behind monitors. You can still use a ping, but describe what you see in detail so that your team knows exactly where he is. Even before the action phase starts, we can make an extra effort to help our team win. Prep phase might be the most important part of the round. Defenders set up their bomb site, and attackers gather info about the site and their push. As a defender, don't just let your team reinforce everything. Put your gadgets down and help set up site properly. Make rotates, lines of sight, reinforce, and make sure your gadgets are helping your team win. As an attacker, don't just sit on your phone. Prep phase is for finding info and planning your push. Clear your entry room, see what utility the defenders are using, and see who's roaming. I made a whole video on droning, including prep phase, so watch that for extra detail. By taking prep phase seriously on attack and defense, you'll increase your win rate because you are actually prepared for the round ahead. So, we need to remember that we're part of a 5-person team, and we need to take full advantage of it. If we can utilize the full power of our team's gadgets and gun skill as a unit, we will be able to crush the other team. So another part of mindset is the idea of tilting. Sometimes we get stuck in a bad headspace and we lose a game, get tilted, and play worse in the next game. This is a negative feedback loop where the effects of each game compound and it just gets worse over time. We have to break out of this loop, but it's a lot easier said than done. To combat this, we should take a second between games, go do a tea hunt, go grab a snack, do a couple push-ups. We can try to physically disconnect from the game because this can really help to recenter yourself. It's okay to care and to get angry, but it's not okay or helpful to take that anger out on your team or yourself. You just end up playing worse because of it, and that's directly from my experience. Instead of blaming our team for being bad or blaming the enemy for cheating, we should look inward and see what things are within our control and if we need to change them. We should record and review our gameplay and be critical. Watch both the kills and the deaths and see what patterns you can find and see what you could have done better. We should accept the flaws and then work on them. Alright, for our final section we have a huge one. And I wasn't lying when I said that I know you've done this before. This is the mistake of ignoring man advantage. Man advantage is simply when one team has more players alive than the other, but its real effects start to take place when the difference is more like 2 to 3 players. Let me break it down. If you remember back to the intro, I described a very common phenomenon where players will frantically hunt down the last remaining opponent. This happens way too often. People hear
Op 4, last operator standing,
and lose their minds. Everyone just rushes to be the first one to get the kill. People figure they can just go for an easy pick, and if they don't get it, there's 4 other guys on their team to pick up the slack. The danger here is that all 5 people could have this same thought, and then no one's acting as the actual backup. The last remaining enemy can often just get a few picks from sitting still and holding an angle, because the other team's just sprinting around with no cover. These kills immediately start evening the odds. Even if they just get a single pick from this, they've dramatically increased their chances of winning the round. Again, like I said in the intro, I'm sure you remember rounds that were a 5, 4, or 3v1 that ended up being a 1v1 and a loss. This stuff kind of drives me crazy when I see it because it's so pervasive in the community at every rank tier. It's wild how many people do this even in Emerald and above. Either you, your rank buddies, or your randoms have been guilty of this in the past, so how do we fix it for ourselves and our team in future games? The first thing we need to do is recognize why this happens. Everyone wants a high KD, and getting kills feels good, so we're eager to hunt down this supposedly easy last kill. But we have to hush the solo mindset that we mentioned earlier and evaluate what gives us the best chance of winning. When we do solo push after the last guy, we're gifting them a 1v1. This gives the enemy a higher chance of success than any other matchup that our team could provide. Obviously there's factors like mechanics, cover, and gadgets, but even still, we all know it's easier to take a one-on-one gunfight than 2 people at the same time. When players run after the last enemy, they're basically feeding 1v1s, and they're usually very disadvantaged. We should focus on limiting these 1v1s as much as possible. On defense, this is easy. When you have man advantage, just sit in sight. Attackers only win if they get all of you or plant the bomb. Once you're up 2 to 3 players, your roamers should collapse back to site, and your anchors should hold advantageous positions. Hunker down on site, and let the remaining attackers push into your crossfires. Since you have man advantage, you should have 2 or more people looking at the limited site entrances, so the final attackers will have to fight multiple targets at once if they want to get inside. On attack, it's a little harder since you have to take action to win, either getting the last few kills or planting. When you have man advantage, you should try and take a second and pause your push. Use any leftover drones to find the position of the last defenders. It's okay if this takes a few seconds, you're trading that time for positional knowledge. Group up if you can so no one can push without a crossfire or refrag, and then move in as a unit. Again, the last enemy should have to fight multiple targets at a time. Based on your info, you might be able to avoid the gunfight altogether and sneak a plant down on the other side of site, leading to an easy win. On both sides, we should make plays that take full advantage of our higher man count. If the last guy runs away and baits, that's tough, no kill. But generally, people who are playing to win will at least try to engage you to have that chance of winning themselves. This gives us that precious pick that we've been looking for, but now it's on our terms. So it's easy enough to implement these tools for ourselves, but how do we make the whole team do it? That's the harder part, but you can at least make an impact in this area. If it's your friends making this mistake, call them out, or at least remind them that it's not helpful what they're doing. If they listen, great. If not, don't play with those losers anymore. Same thing with randoms. Just be nice and remind them that we have man advantage and we can just hold site or play together. They aren't always going to listen, but even if it works a third of the time, that's going to make a difference over the long run. If people are making this mistake, it's not on you, but it is on you to make the extra effort and communicate to get a better chance of winning. Alright, so that's just a few ideas I had on throwing games and how to stop it. So hopefully you guys got something out of it. I just want to reiterate that I am working on an operator roles video, and I think I'm actually going to split it up into 2, one for attack and defense, but either way, it's coming for the next upload, I promise. So if you learned something, please like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions or ideas in the comments below. Alright, I'll see ya.